Hello, my name is Luke Mell. I'm an adventurer in Anchorage, Alaska. I've been fielding a bunch of questions recently about Nordic skating, so I wanted to put together a quick video so I can share it, answer those questions, and make it available to other people that are interested. So it's shoulder season here. It's November. We're transitioning from biking and boating into skiing. There's not enough snow yet to ski, and so this is prime time for skating, and it's awesome. These blades, these Nordic blades, are basically a pretty simple design. It's just an aluminum platform with a bunch of mounting holes so you can get different ski bindings on these, and then a steel blade for the ice. And it's just awesome to explore, go new places, marshes, ponds, rivers that you might not in the other seasons. It's fast travel, it's easy travel, it's a really sharp learning curve. I feel like most people get on the ice and they think, oh, I haven't done this since I was a kid, and then like half an hour later, totally confident and cruising around. Part of why these are so popular is that since they do take ski boots, most people find these ski boots to be more comfortable than, say, a hockey boot. So here's a pair of blades that has the standard skate ski boot binding, and you just step into that and you're ready to go. The binding has a spring in the toe piece, so that's nice. It brings the heel back up. And the boots have a little additional ankle support, which is really nice for skating. Not as much ankle support as lace-ups. That's one of the trade-offs. There are various lengths of Nordic blades, and so the short end are more nimble. They're nice for carving, but they don't smooth out rough ice as well. And a long blade is going to do a better job of smoothing rough ice, but it's not going to be as nimble. So there's a little bit of a trade-off there. My focus is mostly on remote trips, and in that case I'm more interested in covering ground than on fancy skating. I'm not that good of a skater anyway, so I go for that longer length, but that'll be an option if you're looking to buy. The blades cost between $100 and $200, and the bindings are between $50 and $150, so it's not a crazy investment, especially if you already have the ski boots. So a bunch of the questions that I've been receiving are specifically about bringing these on remote trips, so overnight, multi-day trips. And I've done a handful of these now, so I've sort of analyzed and done the math on when it's worth it for me to bring the skates or not. The first thing I consider is that if I'm on a multi-day trip, I'm expecting to run into some walking that needs to be done, cold temperatures, overnight, and then wet boots, the possibility of breaking through and soaking a boot and having to deal with that for several days. So those factors alone are enough to convince me to switch over to a backcountry ski boot. The disadvantages here, it's heavy, it's bulky. I don't know if it's an advantage or a disadvantage. I like having the extra ankle support, again, because I'm not that good of a skater, and if I am going to be able to cover 50 miles on ice, I get less fatigue if I have the extra ankle support, even with the heavier boot. So I really prefer these, but the main reason is because they take a closed cell foam ski boot liner, and so this liner doesn't absorb water. If it gets wet, which it will, if it's not from water, it'll get wet from my sweat. It still insulates, and I can dry it out overnight. I can put hot water bottles in it in the morning to thaw it out and drive off moisture. I can manage this system. If this gets wet, it's really hard to recover from. And so I'm afraid of frostbite in this boot, and frostbite in this boot is less of an issue, although I got a cold foot at 30 below and did get frostbite on a toe, so you're not home free. So this boot, to get it onto the blade, requires, I've got a Dynafit binding here. I had to drill a couple extra holes in the platform, which is really easy. It's just aluminum, so it's easy to drill into. And then, same idea, step-in binding. Now with the Dynafits, you've got a totally free pivot toe, which is a little bit of a bummer. I've experimented with having a bungee on the back to bring the heel back up, and it was just awkward. It wasn't worth it. So I'm used to it now, but most people prefer to have the spring action on like a on a skate binding, an NNN or SNS binding. One model of skate that I don't have here has a very different looking platform, and it's made for one specific type of Nordic binding. So if you thought you might eventually go to something like this, like a Dynafit setup, you'd want to make sure to get the blade with a flat platform, and you'll see the same blade, different brands with different platform options. So that's pretty easy to navigate. So whether or not to bring this on a remote trip, the weight penalty, without bindings, you're looking at 2 pounds, so just under a kilo, I think. Yep. For just the blades alone. Throw on these Dynafit bindings and you're looking at 2.4, so just over a kilo. If you got Nordic bindings and these are on shorter blades, 2.3. So you're all flirting within the 1 kilo penalty for bringing these. So when is that worth it? On my remote trips, I did one where we were able to skate 80 out of 100 miles, and we were able to do that overnight because skating is so fast. So yeah, absolutely worth it. 50 out of 250, definitely worth it. I did my last attempt to use these on a trip was 2 out of 200, and that was definitely not worth it. And then another one, 110 out of 150, totally worth it. So for me, I'm kind of doing the math. Am I going to be able to skate, say, 10%, 15% of the total miles? And if so, I'm definitely willing to carry that extra 2 pounds. Below that, it's starting to get a little bit questionable. I did get creative once. I noticed these blades look a lot like mountaineering pickets, right? Same idea. And so on a trip a couple springs ago, we drilled some extra holes in the blades, left the bindings off, and used these as pickets. And they worked as pickets. That's maybe all I'm going to say about that. We kind of justified bringing the extra weight of the skates by leaving the pickets behind. Yeah. I want to say a couple words about the safety equipment we'd bring on these trips. Generally not looking to carry much extra, right? Because I'm already carrying 50 pounds if it's a week, or 80 pounds if it's 10 days or something, and we've got technical gear. Might bring some rope. Probably not going to bring a lot of rope, but I might bring some, and ideally you'd probably want like a 1/4 inch polypro rope. But that's probably overkill because there's not going to be a fast load on the rope, right? You're not taking a fall. You're basically looking to throw it to your partner that's in the water. But some rope or some cord would be really nice to have. I think it's a good idea to have 2 screws between the group so that if one person goes in and they're carrying a screw, somebody else has a screw. You can get that into the ice quickly, get the rope attached to it, boom, you're ready to go, and help the victim out. Ice grippers are pretty popular. There's a few different models. This is a pair you wear around your neck, and the grippers mate like that. These generally come apart. That's a bummer. And then you've got these pokey things, so a lot of people end up taping those. I don't know, I think that's kind of awkward. Here's another design that has these spring-loaded protection over the steel points. Bummer here is you got a bunch of string that gets knotted up and messy. So, I don't want to tie this around my neck because it's just going to be in my way. I can bury it in a pocket, but then am I going to be able to get it out of my pocket? So just something to think about, a few different designs, but it's a good idea to have these. Some people are using homemade, stuff made out of screwdrivers or whatever. There's not a lot going into the science of these. Ski poles, if it's good ice, poles are a hindrance. Basically I feel like I can get going too fast with the poles and I end up putting them on my pack and just carrying them. But if it's bad ice, it can be really valuable to be able to double pull. This is, in my experience, it's true. We were able to ice skate on a bunch of snow machine tracks that got rained on and so froze solid. and it was too bumpy to be able to skate with kind of the V motion, but worked great for double pulling. And when I do bring poles, I'm just bringing my skate ski poles, and so the sizing there is sort of mouth to nose when you're just standing in your boots, not on top of the skate. Works pretty well. Last thing I want to say is about the sharpening. And you can buy special jigs to sharpen. You can take them to shops, not the same shops that do hockey blades. There's a difference in the geometry of the steel, where these are flat and they need different sharpening. But some mountaineering stores will do it, in Anchorage at least. What I've done is I take off the bindings, or on mine I don't really need to because I'm using those Dynafits and I have these big flat platforms. I just screw this into this flat platform, get both blades on there. You might need to drill a couple extra holes to get these mounted, but I get them mounted in parallel, and then I've got a special stone here, JB8. Seems to work really well for these. This is Pike brand, JB8, and it's got two sides, coarse and fine. And with these mounted in here, you just drive the stone along the length, and because they're on that flat platform, you sharpen them both to the same flatness. This has been a great solution for me. It cost $0. I guess this cost maybe 10 or 15 or 20. Okay, I think that's all I wanted to say. I guess about sharpening, after about 50 miles, I can definitely tell that the blades are dull. I have never been willing to carry a sharpener with me on the remote trips. They exist. I just wait till I get home and sharpen them here. Cool. Probably a good idea to watch some safety videos or practice maybe in some shallow ice, figuring out how you're going to get yourself out. Happy to field other questions, but hopefully that was helpful. Have fun.